I'm Patrizia, Chief Standard Officer for CSI, Carbon Standards International. And our vision at Carbon Standards International is to create a reliable and innovative framework to empower partners and individuals committed to cooling down the planet. We are a leading organization in the carbon dioxide removal market and target exponential growth. And doing so, I'm proud to announce these numbers. We have more than 100 validated CSync projects in our global CSync registry. There are more than 50 global biochar CSync projects, and in total we have more than 600,000 tons of CO2 equivalents issued as biochar CSync credits, while 80% of these are already transferred or retired, which means there has been a market for them. If we look at the global biochar CSync standard and the current update to the version 4, we have two main updates, which is first the persistence classes update, where we integrate the persistence evaluation with random reflectance or HiPi, and introduce the new higher persistence class with a geological persistent carbon content of 90%. We also streamline our various roles that are involved in CSync projects and introduce the CSync matrix provider for those who exclusively incorporate biochar into a product. We slightly updated the methane compensation rules. They will be effective at the end of the year. And not within the standard, but coming at the same time, we updated the project workflow. We are currently, as you know, in the public consultation. So depending on feedback that will come during public consultation, timeline may shift, but we are aiming for the date of effectiveness for the 22nd of May. So I'll start with all the different updates, and as Barbara said, after each section, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. So regarding the persistency class of 90% geological persistent carbon, which translates into 90% of the carbon content issued as a CSync 1000 plus, which means a CSync that is stable for at least 1000 years. We are the first standard body with a robust integration of biochar persistence evaluation based on random reflectance or hydropyrolysis into a biochar standard. And while no biochar carbon fraction can be regarded as completely inert, increasing aromatic condensation and ordering substantially increases the stability of the compounds and such the probability of the respective part to be there and surviving 1000 years and more. So for the new upper persistency class of biochar, we will have SPC content, so the semi-persistent carbon content that's degraded over the course of the centuries of 10%, and the geological persistent carbon of 90%. Previously, we've called with the standard update, we also introduced the new name of geological persistent carbon instead of polyaromatic carbon, just for clarity. So now that's the same than what we called PAC before. So now it's not SPC and PAC anymore, but it's SPC and GPC for clarity. Introducing persistency classes that depend on the random reflectance analysis is also future-proof for CSCF. CSCF is the carbon removal certification framework of the EU and will be the de facto reference framework for quality in European sea-sink markets. And the determination of persistence based on random reflectance for sea-sink 1000 plus is mandatory within CSCF. If we look at this upper persistence class, there is, of course, evidence required to showcase that your biochar meets the persistence class. And there are two methods of analysis available to demonstrate the compliance. First, there is hydropyrolysis, where biochar is pyrolyzed under extremely harsh conditions. So we have a hydrogen atmosphere, high pressure and high temperature. And the part that's volatilized is operationally defined as the reactive carbon fraction and characterized by a substantially lower probability of surviving for more than 1000 years after the application to soil, while the residual carbon fraction consists of aromatic clusters with more than 7 condensed rings, which are considered more stable and having a high probability to survive 1000 years. So the fraction, so you will be assigned, your biochar will be assigned to the upper persistence class if your the biochar carbon resistant to hydropyrolysis exceeds the 90%. The other way of showcasing that you are part of the upper persistent class is the random reflectance analysis. For random reflectance, you prepare a sample and then see the reflectance of several measurement points of this sample. And it provides a detailed and robust measure of the structural ordering and maturation of the aromatic carbon domains at a microscale, where at each measuring point, higher reflectance indicates a higher degree of aromatic ordering and polycondensation. And the result of a random reflectance analysis is such a diagram where you can see the reflectance values at the bottom and the amount of dots or measurement points in a sample that have a respective reflectance. So if your mean random reflectance is above 0.8, with no more than 3% of the measurement points being below 2%, and the data from all the 500 measurement points show a Gaussian distribution with a heterogeneity score below 8, then you will be eligible for the upper persistence class. In the Biochar tool, you have the possibility to add a sample for existing batches and order the HiPy or random reflectance analysis directly via the endorsed laboratories and via the Biochar tool. And you also have the possibility to share your data with the Fusinite company, and then you get an access to their online tool as well to see how the analysis of your sample is progressing. So we've been able to set up the streamlined process for you, so you don't need to get in contact with any laboratory yourself, but you can just request these analyses as you're used to in the Biochar tool. Both of them come at the same costs, so around €200. So for the practical implementation, carbon sinks that are submitted for verification after the Global Biochar Sea-Sink version 4 enters into force may be assessed using the upper persistent class. To do so, you need to order your HiPi or random afflectance analysis. So register a representative sample in Biochar tool, request the analysis, and additionally request the elemental analysis and the solid electric conductivity analysis. In the Biochar tool, you can do so by selecting analysis of additional parameters. And then your sample will be checked for compliance to the requirements that we've seen here and for consistency with other analysis of the respective batch by CSI and be verified by the VVB. And if that's successful, you can register your C-Syncs in the C-Sync tool for verification with 90% of geologically persistent carbon. So I'm at the end of this section now, and I'm open to questions.
Okay, I will manage the questions. We received some in the comments, and if you want to say it, then please raise your hand. So let's start with the first one. How much will it cost for this additional analysis? Is Eurofins the only laboratory that will be able to do this?
As I said, it will be around €200, and the analysis is not done directly by Eurofins, but by partner labs, but you can request it via Eurofins in the Biochar tool. Why would I choose HiPi or Rho?
Yep.
You can do whatever you want. It depends. So there's no direct advantage of one of them. Both of them correlate very well with each other. One is a bulk analysis. The other one gives you more detailed information about the distribution of the measurement points or the organic cluster or the carbon clusters within biochar. But yeah, there is no, I can't give a recommendation. Both are fine.
Okay, thank you, Patrizia. The next one is, I assume ordering the analysis via Biochar tool is optional only and can be coordinated with an endorsed lab through other routes, right?
No, we have the same rules as we have for all our analysis. You have to register the sample before you send it to the laboratories, and you have to register the sample in Biochar tool before you actually send it. We could discuss about options where you register the sample and then send it to a different laboratory by yourself, but I don't see a advantage in this route.
Okay, thank you, Patrizia. The next one, are both analyses needed to meet the upper persistent class, or is a positive result from one of them, HiPi or RR, enough?
One is enough.
One is enough. Amazing. Can you confirm who partner labs are?
So for random reflectance, we partner with Fusinite, and for HiPi, it's different. I can quickly check. That's the university in Nottingham.
Amazing. Thank you, Patrizia. I do not see more. Yeah, there is a next one. Okay. Is there an indication that you pass into the higher class, like low C/H ratio or conductivity? I mean, an HC 3.9 or something, is there a chance it will qualify?
No, actually, you should be below the 0.4 threshold.
Okay, thank you. Do we have analysis services available in endorsed labs in India?
Unfortunately, not yet. As we are speaking about EBC, WBC analysis, the labs are anyway only in Europe, and so unfortunately there we can't offer this service yet in India. But if
Okay.
you have qualified laboratories, as always, get in touch with us.
Okay, I meant 0.39 HC, of course.
Yeah,
Because
then if you are below 0.4, it's worth a try. So it depends very much. It's not very common, but there are biochars that have a rather high H2C content, while they would show a high reflectance or high pi value.
amazing, thank you. I do not see more questions now. Maybe we can wait a few seconds, and if there is no more, then yes, I think we can move on. And if there are more questions, then later we can go through them.
Sure. So the second second topic was the C-Sync matrix provider. And before I start with that, I would like to remind you on the webinar in October, where we spoke about the essential conditions for the issuance of a C-Sync. One was the minimal risk of reversal. So it's not enough to place biochar right next to the matrix, but you have to place it in a matrix and closed box in order to make sure it's prevented from being burnt. So safe embedding of biochar into a matrix is one precondition. And the other one was the scientific accessibility of the matrix. So we must have enough knowledge about a matrix to reliably model the degradation of semi-permanent carbon fraction in biochar. And speaking about this, we know that for EBC biochar or global biochar C-Sync value chains, we see complex value chains where we have the producer that covers everything from biomass production till biochar production, so cradle to gate, and then there are processes involved in the creation of or in the application of biochar to a matrix. And if we speak about processes, then so far we covered everyone who did anything with biochar afterwards, whether it was to apply it to a matrix or whether it was grinding, mixing, activating, pelletizing biochar. And here we had the possibility of a processing partner where companies that would do only a step of it and wouldn't be interested in getting certified would have the possibility to get certified via their contracting entity. And we called this processing partner. However, that led to some bit of a confusion. That's why we are streamlining the process and introduce a clear separation between a processor and the matrix provider. So a processor is everyone who manipulates biochar, grinding, pelletizing, whatsoever. Whenever you do something with biochar and your end result is still a black powder and not yet something where you have biochar mixed with a matrix at a maximum 50-50 rate, is processing. So physical manipulation of biochar. While if you only add biochar as it is with the EBC certification, so EBC certified biochar is added to another product, that can be considered as a matrix provider. Matrix providers have to confirm that they applied it to a matrix, and they are not allowed to use the EBC labels on their products as they are not certified. So if matrix providers, or if the entity that applies biochar to a matrix wants to use the EBC certification, they would need to register and are encouraged to register as EBC processor. So in this case, for example, we would have a processor, and then a matrix provider would generate a fertilizer that they would market, and that would then be applied by the end customer, while the end customer is not even known to the system. As I said, C-Sync matrix providers are not registered with Carbon standards, but they must confirm the following conditions as part of their application confirmation. So it's a confirmation of application through the matrix. They have to report the share of biochar applied at least within a ratio of several percent. So it doesn't need to be precise by 6 digits after the comma, but a ballpark of how much biochar was applied. Then the consent of data sharing with the VBB and Carbon standards. Confirmation that they do not claim, use, or resell the C-Sync value of the incorporated biochar, and the acknowledgement that the C-Sync value is used by the upstream contracting entity, and the confirmation that in justified cases, the VBB may audit the matrix providers' records relating to biochar receipt and incorporation to the matrix. There's no additional contracts needed, and all this is needed for the purpose of verification and registry management. So if we look at the different activities that could be there, you have grinding, sieving, thermical, microbial activation of biochar, a certification as EBC processor and C-Sync processor is required. So you have a labeling of a product, and you have a C-Sync project with a PDD annex in the global C-Sync registry. If you trade loose goods, loose biochar, certification as EBC trader is required. So we have labeling of a product. So whenever biochar reaches somewhere where it might be applied to a matrix, it still comes with the EBC label, and we have an EBC trader. It's not necessary to have certification regarding the C-Sync certification, because transport emissions are tracked via the DMV system. And if the trader aims to become the first C-Sync owner, or they want to have their project page in the C-Sync registry, they have the option to register as C-Sync processor. The outcome will be a C-Sync biochar project with a PDD annex. And then we have this last bit, the application of biochar to a product without any physical biochar processing. So using biochar as delivered and mixing it to a product or a matrix. There's no quality certification needed, but it's available if the client wants to label the product. They can and are encouraged to certify as EBC processes. And for the C-Sync certification, we have the C-Sync matrix provider, which is approximately the same rules than the processing partner we have right now. So they need to deliver data to the contracting entity, but they don't need to be registered. And the same applies as above. If they want to have their own project page in the C-Sync registry, the optional C-Sync processor certification is available, which will lead to a C-Sync project page with and a PDD annex. So for the transition of current processing partners, they have to transition to their new role. The default would be the C-Sync matrix provider, where no additional effort is required because information has already been recorded and the points shall be included to the application confirmation. If they wish to label their product, or if they are a processor of biochar and not applying it to a matrix, they shall register as EBC processes. That's it. I'm open to questions again.
We have 3 more questions to the first section, so I will start with those. Earlier, we had standard 75% to 25% PAC SPC ratio that was considered. Now that depends on the testing.
Yes and no. I'm sorry, I missed to tell this. If you don't go for the HiPi or random reflectance analysis, but you meet the H2C below 0.4 criteria, still the 75-25% rule applies. So that's still the case, and you can go whenever you have less or H2C ratio below 0.4, you'll be eligible for 75% of PAC, which now we call GPC.
Thank you, Patrizia. Can you estimate what the change will be in carbon credits between current calculation and this new one?
Of course, it's 15% more C-Sync 1000 plus, so 15%, or it's 15% more, but of 100%, so you'll have 20% more income.
Okay, thank you. So in general, almost all BC will qualify.
I can't say this way because, as I said before, biochar below 0.4, H2C below 0.4 will qualify for 75%. Biochar with H2C above 0.4 will have 100% SPC as before. And biochar below 0.4, if it's tested according to HiPi or random reflectance, it can qualify for the highest persistency class with 90%. And the outlook is that there will be more steps in between the 90% and the 75%. And they will be introduced over the course of the year. So yes, almost all biochar will qualify for a higher persistence class, but it really depends on the testing.
Thank you. What's the jurisdiction these application confirmations need to base on?
They need to, so instead of having additional contracts as we had it so far, where we would ask for a contract between the contracting party and the processing partner, we would include these specific points into the application confirmation. So with their signature, matrix providers commit to comply with these points.
Thank you. If a matrix provider, e.g. mixing into compost, confirms to use BC from one single producer, can the product have ABC label?
No. However, that's a question that was also asked during the comments that were already given to the public consultation. And so there will be a statement on this.
Thank you. Can you please explain why the matrix provider needs to disclose the percentage of biochar applied? If incorporation into a matrix is verified, why the extra step? This is a hurdle for these relationships as the percentage can often be a confidential receipt.
Yes, the point behind this is to have extra security that the biochar was applied. So imagine biochar that was applied to compost, and the compost facility claims to have applied 5,000 tons of biochar. but in the end, their production records only show, or their sales only show 3,000 3,000 tons of fertilizer produced, then it wouldn't fit. Same goes if they sell 5,000 tons. So it's a step for extra security to have the possibility to do a goods inflow and outflow analysis, and to see whether the claimed amount that were applied to a matrix can be realistic. But as I said, it doesn't need to be precise to the like super precise, but it can be a range of biochar applied in order to have this check on whether the amount applied to can be realistic, or if there was more amount claimed to be applied to a matrix that's unrealistic.
Okay, thank you. Can you explain why the matrix provider cannot communicate that the biochar they use is ABC certified? This creates a significant hurdle for the commercialization of ABC certified producers.
The certification as EBC processor is super easy, and it's a safeguard that we introduced to also protect our labels. So EBC producers can of course sell with the label on it, but if a product shall be marketed with EBC on it, then the processor also needs to be certified, which means that they are part of the system. But EBC processor certification is significantly easier than EBC producer certification. So here we really should encourage everybody to just go for the EBC processor certification.
Okay, thank you, Patrizia. We do not have more questions to this section, so I think we can move forward.
So for methane accounting, as you know, we calculate the total climate effect that a emission has over the course, or a methane emission has over the course of 100 years. And we look for an equal climate effect from a sea sink over 20 years, because methane is very potent climate gas within the first 20 years, because it has a low short residency time, and so we have to match the total climate effect of 100 years of the methane emission with a equivalently sized total climate effect in a negative direction, because it's a sea sink, over 20 years. And the new bit in the Global Biochar sea sink standard is that the explanation of this logic was adapted, and it gives more clarity now than it was before. And we will have the update to the IPCC 6 value of 27 until the end of the year. Currently, we are using the IPCC 4 value of 25. And basically, that's the update, that the values behind methane emission compensation will be updated, and are already updated in the chapters in the Global Biochar sea sink standard. Yes, right. So then let's come to the next point. That's the project journey. I'm sure every one of you knows this nice view in the Global sea sink registry, where you have your project view, you see the standard you're certified against, and you see where you are at the journey. So it starts from registration to ongoing endorsement, endorsed, ongoing validation, and validated. The endorsed status is very helpful in order to seek for external finance, because it gives you a confirmation already that you have very high chances to be validated. And the validated status is the one when you can start with the verification cycle, so you can implement the project and start creating C-Syncs. Until now, the global biochar C-Sync journey started with the technical endorsement or the technical pre-audit for the EBC certification, and we've aligned this with the project cycle in the registry, and it will be rolled out over the course of the next month. So we still start with the registration, of course. We have the ongoing endorsement whenever you start interacting and providing data about your project to CSI. We have a project endorsement where you will be assessed by Carbon Standards International whether you comply with the rules, and have high chances to become a validated project. And then you have this endorsed status with an endorsement report that, as I said, can be used for the outreach. And only then you have to start drafting or writing your PDD. The VVB will conduct a pre-check and then enter the validation. So you're in ongoing validation where you have to have finding rounds. So that's this ping pong between non-compliance and how you resolve it. That's also the time when your project goes into public consultation. And somewhere between project endorsement and the closure of the validation, you have to conduct a technical endorsement, which is more or less, or which is the same as we have it right now with the technical pre-audit, but it enables you to start designing your project, getting some status in the registry before you actually have to build your pyrolysis plant. And that's due to the fact that in earlier years, people started building their pyrolysis plants, and only then they were thinking about, well, how could I certify this? They are C-Syncs. I could go this route. Now people start with the C-Sync project in mind and refine all this while they are in the process and cannot start with the technical pre-audit. So that's why it moved back here, but it's required to have the plant set up in order to close the validation. Then you'll have the validation statement and you can start operation and start monitoring your activities. You have the annual on-site audit. You have project verification statement. This goes on, and you can go to request C-Syncs. C-Syncs will be verified and issued to the C-Sync, to the global C-Sync registry. And yeah, that's to come in the next weeks and months. Are there questions for this?
Yes, 1 second. Is the global biochar C-Sync version 4 designed to be compliant with CRCF, or are we expecting more updates this year?
It's designed to be compliant with CRCF, and we are also in, so CRCF will open their call in May, and we are prepared to apply for the endorsement.
Is the project endorsement equivalent to the pre-technical audit?
Exactly.
Amazing, thank you. When somebody's BC qualifies for a very high Sync 1000, will there still be enough Sync 20 to compensate for CH4?
Yes, I mean, as you know, methane emissions depend on the exact technology. So there might be technologies that have high methane emissions, and then it wouldn't be enough anymore, but then you could buy additional Zinc 20 on the market. But for most of the plants we know, especially for those who have system provider endorsements, and for plants who have low methane emissions, there's no problem to cover the methane emissions with the Zinc 20 out of the same biochar, of the species fraction of the same biochar.
Amazing. Thank you, Patrizia. I don't see more questions now.
So, as you know, we have this webinar because there's the ongoing public consultation of the new standard version. It's open until next week, and we are happy to receive feedback that you couldn't have answered today or during the last weeks. And then the feedback is reviewed. The final version of the standard will be published, and of course the effective date depends on the feedback and how much discussion and evaluation of this is needed. In the end, there will be a publication of the feedback with structured responses, so accepted, not accepted, and the justification. And if everything goes as planned, the standard will be effective at the end of May. I would like to use this webinar as well for some future announcements. So first of all, we have a realignment of responsibilities within Carbon Standards International. Robin Wehren will become the new product manager of the Global Biochar Zinc standard. So I'll give over my responsibilities in this field to Robin, and he will be supported by Julia and Alphonse. So Robin, if you want to say some words about you and introduce yourself, you're more than welcome.
Yes, thanks very much, Patrizia, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Robin. I'm currently taking care of our global construction ceasing standard, and I'm very happy for this new opportunity to dive more into the whole biochar field. I'm originally from the forest and wood sector, but I think pyrolysis is also there. Very big topic, so I'm really looking forward to optimize the whole processes and together with our customer to smooth it along the way. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well for showing your face here, and I'm very looking forward to handing over all the topics to you over the next weeks. Then we have we spoke about CSCF before already, so I'm just speaking about the external endorsements that Carbon Standards has or is applying for. So ICROA endorsement was reached last year. Unfortunately, ICROA will wind down the operations by late 26, but nevertheless, our ICROA endorsement is still valid and will be valid until the end of the year. Then we have submitted our application for the 26 assessment cycle for CORSIA and ICVCM, which is the Integrity Council for the Voluntary Carbon Market and a very well-renowned endorsement agency in voluntary carbon market. And there is the EU CRCF, as I said before, the de facto standard for carbon removals within the EU, and they will open their application window in May 26, and we will be submitting our application to be endorsed by CRCF as well. And then there's another announcement I want to make. We published in March 25, we published a clarification on dry matter determination, and allowed that next to the oven, you could also use moisture meters, as you can see them here. And what we did a couple of weeks ago is that we have a section on our homepage that's dedicated to these equipments that are endorsed to use to be used for moisture determination of biochar. And for the PCE meters, we are offering, or PCE is offering, a 20% discount for carbon standards clients. Unfortunately, they have problems with their shop, so it's not working with a discount code yet, but you can email this email address and then get 20% discount if you purchase the moisture meters from PCE as a carbon standards client. And last but not least, we will have an addition to our family of biochar standards to ensure that every project finds its home in our standards. Tech Biochar C-Sync is in the last rounds of revision, and it's a professional enclosed, it's a standard for enclosed pyrolysis equipment that's operated at an industrial level without releasing uncombusted exhaust gases. So it must be an enclosed system. It will be available worldwide, even in locations where the situation is that the EBC energy efficiency requirements cannot be met because there is no industrial settings around it or at the place of the pyrolysis plant, so energy cannot be used by neighboring industries, or there is no way to deliver the heat for municipal heating. So in these locations, the tech biochar C-Sync would also be eligible. We have a very strict process control planned for this, with increased testing frequencies on all parameters relevant for C-Sync, and the publication is planned for end of June. Well, that's the end of the webinar, or at least of my presentation. So if you have any question, it's your time now.
I see one more question here. I don't see the CRCF requirement of an uncertainty assessment in the standard. Is this not needed in your POV?
Which uncertainty assessment exactly?
Sorry, I will go back. So there is no, it's just an uncertainty assessment. There's no specification for that.
Anna, could you specify on this, whether it's about the on the measured parameters that lead to removal value? Okay, yeah. So no, it's, in our opinion, it's covered within the standard already, because we have a high level of materiality that we reach, and for all losses of carbon that might occur after the application, we have these strict rules on our on the eligible matrices and whatever you need to provide as evidence. So there's one tiny bit that we don't see reflected. That's the emissions of that's the capital emissions that probably will be added. But besides, we are confident that we cover the emission accounting requirements.
Can you go back to the question of Kevin, Patrizia? It was before Anna's clarification.
Has a validation been conducted to compare results produced by the oven drying method versus moisture meter? Of course, there has been. Yes, we have conducted such comparison studies.
I think we have the first verbal question. Please can ask your question. I saw that you raised your hand, Carbon.
Hi, thank you very much. I was wondering if we could expand a little bit on the labeling requirements or not ability of the matrix providers to use the label. I know you were setting on the one hand the safety, which is understandable, but I think the producers that are registered are already and audited, they're already reaching the standard, right? I think that could handle the safety requirement. I think that I understand your second point is that you're encouraging people to register as processors. I think in rural settings that is not always going to be possible at all. And I think the risk here is that what ends up happening is that you're promoting matrix providers or processors to be using non-certified biocarbon. If they can't communicate that they are using the biocarbon from a certified supplier, why would they choose a certified supplier? And I understand that there's going to be a difference between an EBC processor label, but maybe there's an opportunity for them to be able to communicate, their product is not EBC certified, but rather is using EBC certified biocarbon. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I don't see the first problem that you raised, because in order to be eligible for Global Biochar C-Sync and in order to issue C-Syncs, you will still have to show the EBC certification. So up until the point when biochar is applied to a matrix, EBC label needs to be present and needs to be shown. So if you buy uncertified biochar, you won't be able to get C-Syncs for that. So I think there we have, or I don't see this problem as much. But for the other point, we received this feedback already, and I'm also taking your feedback serious, and we'll see what we can do. For sure, we can't, or we will not have the C-Sync or the EBC label just like this on products. But if it's linked to the original producer, there might be a possibility, yes. But we have to see and decide on that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see more hands raised or more questions in the chat. If anybody has questions, then... Oh, sorry. Yes, there was one. Can you please tell us more about the Tech Biochar C-Sync? Is it an upgrade from Artisan Pro? And is it a precursor for industrial EBC units?
It is both and none of it. It is a independent biochar standard that will be supplementing our biochar C-Sync standard family. And of course, it is addressing artisan producers who want to go with an enclosed technology and are aiming for higher market value of their C-Syncs, and are willing to do the rigorous process control. But it's also aimed for industrial clients or EBC clients, or not clients yet, but producers that are interested in Global Biochar C-Sync or EBC certification that can't meet the requirements on often it's energy efficiency, because their surrounding doesn't offer them possibility to produce biochar with the required energy efficiency. And then Tech Biochar C-Sync would be a great opportunity.
Okay, and there is a question. And it will be suitable for decentralized production then, right?
For now, it will be focusing on centralized production, but it is suitable for decentralized production as well, yes.
Amazing. I think I don't have more hints or questions. So I think maybe this is the end. Okay, thank
Great.
you for everybody for attending and listening to our latest updates. Thank you, Patrizia, for all the details that you shared. If you would like to receive recording directly, I entered my email address to the chat, so you can send a request there. But we are also going to upload it to our YouTube channel and also to the website in the training session. So you will have an opportunity to look at it again soon.